Hey folks, thanks for joining me once again. Well, today we're going to be having a look at a beer that happens to be the flagship brew of the Redhook Ale Brewery out of Seattle, Washington in the United States of America. It's this one here, Redhook ESB, which comes in at 5.8% alcohol by volume. Now, for those of you who don't know, an ESB is an extra special bitter or extra strong bitter, and it's a very famous English style that actually made this particular brewery quite famous. My good mate and fellow beer reviewer, the great Jay Terrio over in Louisiana, tells me that this one is an absolute jewel. So I think without further ado, we should check it out. So I'll crack off the cap and I'll pour it out into this lovely mug. Okay. I've been very keen to try this one. Very keen. It's extremely hard to find here in Australia, but I did manage to track it down, obviously. Alright, so let's have a look at the appearance. Well, yeah, it's very much on the amber spectrum. It has a somewhat hazy appearance. It's quite effervescent. Let me get it closer to camera for you. You know, I can see lots of bubbles streaming to the top there. Has a somewhat disappointing head, but perhaps I could have just poured it a little bit more aggressively. Yeah, it's dissipated into a fine ring, sadly. And yeah, when I poured it, I think there was about one finger, and I guess you could call it beige in color. But it still really does look good. All right, so onto the aroma. Okay. Well, what I'm picking up first and foremost is yeah, the smell of caramel and toffee. I mean, it smells like it's going to be quite delicious, I must say. But there's not much more to it than that. The caramel and toffee, yeah, aromas are really the predominant ones there. All right, so this, of course, brings us to the most important part of the review, given that we've talked about the appearance and the aroma, the taste test. So here goes, folks. Cheers to you all. Well, all right, the taste really does follow the nose. Up front, I'm getting those sweet caramelly malts there with a hint of toffee. It's also got a real noticeable breadiness about it as well, which I really like. You know, I always like, you know, this particular style of beer to have a nice, you know, breadiness to it. And yeah, it's just absolutely delicious. And the bitterness is quite minimal, although it's actually called a, you know, extra special bitter or extra strong bitter, which I find a little ironic. The bitterness is really minimal, just there for finishing. And in terms of what sort of hop flavors I am, you know, detecting in the palate, I would have to say that it's really more sort of your fruity, spicy sort of hop flavors. There's perhaps a hint of sort of citrus there as well, but it really does balance this all out nicely. And on that note, I must have another gulp. All right, well, I'm really finding this one just absolutely delicious. I can't fault it flavor-wise. There's nothing offensive about it whatsoever. It's very tasty. Is it something that you could session? Well, perhaps, but you know, at 5.8% ABV, you couldn't have too many of these before you fell flat on your ass, I suppose. It's definitely drinkable too, given that, yeah, it's just so tasty. Yeah, a truly delicious beer, one could say. In terms of its price point, well, what I paid for it was ludicrous, but that was just more for the sake of trying it. Sometimes as a beer reviewer you just have to do that. You have to make those sacrifices. I'm not really sure what they'd charge for it in the US, where it's most common. Perhaps those of you in the US can feel free to inform me in the comment section. Anyway, probably time I wrapped this up and gave it a score out of 10. I'll have my one last gulp, of course. Okay, well, all in all, a truly superb beer. I can see why it's the flagship brew for the Redhook Brewery. It's really something special, and it's sad that it's probably not one that I'll be trying again until I go over to the US, where I can get it for a reasonable price, and perhaps even have it on draft, and that will be something to look forward to. Anyhow, in terms of a score out of 10, I'd be inclined to give this one a solid 9.5 out of 10. So there you go, folks, a 9.5 out of 10 for Redhook ESB. So do check it out if you ever stumble upon it. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll be back again real soon with another review for you all. But until then, fare thee well, all.